Hi, everybody. A very good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening on a session which we have titled Preparing for a Normal Birth. And this is the first of the series that we are looking at doing. We will be doing one such webinar every month related to either a pregnancy or a post-delivery topic. And the best way to stay in contact with what is happening as far as which webinar is happening when and to get the link, our social media or our tips group would be the best source of information. I'm going to kind of, get started, dive deep into the topic. Just a few ground rules. I would request everybody to keep yourself on mute. I am recording this session and I'm going to be making the recording available on YouTube for a couple of days. I can't keep it there permanently, but I will have it there for a couple of days so that you can review it and watch it and, maybe also share it with your friends and family. So that's going to be an option which will be available over the weekend. So that's one thing. And the second is that we definitely would love for you to ask questions. So there is a chat window and we'd like you to kind of, post all your questions there in chat, and I'll do my best to answer as many as possible before my time is up. I mean, as part and parcel of the query resolution, we'd like to attend to that too. So, yeah. So that's my very brief and quick introduction. My name is Sonali Shivlani. For those who don't know me, I am an internationally certified pregnancy and postnatal consultant. I have been in this profession since 2004 and have more than 16 years of practice now, working with expecting and new families. We have had the good fortune of servicing more than 35,000, and I like to use the word happy families. So far, no one's come and told me that I'm a miserable, lousy person. So I'm guessing that everyone's happy. I'm also the founder of Baby 360 Degrees, and what started as an on-site venture, it in 2013 moved into more of an online information and support service for pregnancy and beyond. And over and above this, I'm the executive director of Kappa India, through which we train international certified birth professionals. Let's talk a little bit about your pregnancy. Every pregnancy would have these elements, and I am going to talk a little bit about each of these elements and how it is going to impact your labor and your delivery, because that's what we're preparing for. We're preparing for a normal delivery, and what is it that contributes to getting that birth of your choice. So let's not say that a delivery which happens vaginally is the only option. We definitely have various options if they're medically necessary, if it's required, if it's for the safety of the mother and the child. But a vaginal birth is definitely healthier if it is our option. So if it's all safe and it's something which is possible, then every mother should have a vaginal birth. Let me share a couple of statistics with you. The World Health Organization recommends that a country should have a C-section rate of about 5% where the pregnancy is healthy, and 14% when the pregnancy has certain complications. So we are looking at just a 14% cesarean section rate. However, as we've all realized in our country, the C-section rate, especially in urban India, is way, way higher. And this is contributed because of various aspects. Now, when we're looking at what happens, now think about it. If you have a marathon running, then what would you do, right? You would prepare, you would run, you would eat right, you would exercise, you would prepare your body, right? And the same thing has been given to you as time during pregnancy. That's your 9 months to prepare your body. And that's the entire goal. So these are the things which are going to help you: a healthy diet, regular exercise, staying away from myths, having a stress-free mind, and a supportive medical team. And then let's look at what all of these accompany. Well, I do see your chat that you are finding it difficult to hear. You will have to adjust your microphone settings. I mean, the speaker settings on your instrument, whatever it is that you are using, because I believe the system is working fine for everybody else. All right, now let's talk about what a healthy diet would be. Eating healthy is going to help to nourish your baby. Every mother will answer this as a statement. I eat well because it's good for my baby. I eat well because it gives food to my baby. It keeps you healthy. And in this COVID situation, it's also helping to build your immunity. What I would recommend is eating a balanced diet. You don't need to be a nutritionist to understand what a balanced diet is all about. So, balanced diet typically means five fingers. Now, what do these five fingers stand for? The five fingers stand for making sure that you have healthy carbohydrates, which is a whole grain. Don't choose refined grains like rice, maida, etc. The second component would be your fruits and vegetables. Now, fruits and vegetables should be as many different colors as possible, seasonal and fresh. So make sure you have about 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. The third finger is really important, which is your protein foods. Protein is called the building block of cells, and it is going to ensure that it builds each and every part of the baby, including brain development. So make sure that you're having adequate proteins. Vegetarians find it a little bit more difficult, but nevertheless, if you ensure that you're having adequate protein with every meal that you're taking, you would do good as far as protein intake is concerned. The fourth item in your diet should be calcium. Now, calcium is something which becomes really essential because it helps to build your baby's bones, teeth, heart, muscles, and nervous system. Last but not the least is healthy fats. Now, when we're choosing healthy fats, it doesn't mean you eat a whole lot. It doesn't mean you eat excess, because if we end up eating excess, we just gain weight. So choose, the unsaturated fats more than the saturated fats. Avoid excessive ghee and butter, and choose options like nuts and etc. to ensure you get the right fats in your diet. The babies eat 24/7, so you need to ensure that you eat every 2 to 3 hours. Drink plenty of water. You need about 10 to 12 glasses of water every day. And in spite of eating healthy, make sure you take your prenatal supplements. Exercise is the one thing that is going to help to stretch and strengthen your body, improve your elasticity, which will help you to prepare for labor, reduce aches and pains. It'll help to keep you relaxed, helps to make you sleep better, and interestingly, helps for overall fetal development, because when the mom is exercising, technically the baby's metabolism is also revving up, and that's really important. The safest exercise is walking, which if you don't have any supervision, then that can be something that you can take off on. Antenatal exercises, if you're doing them, are best done under some kind of guidance so that you don't make mistakes. Include some breathing exercises in your routine as well, because you need to build up your lung capacity. These are some simple birth preparation exercises which every mom who is allowed to, and with the permission of a doctor, should do from the week 28 onwards for sure. The first one is squats. We would recommend doing at least 4 to 5 sets every day. So each set is about 8 counts. So we're looking at a total of about 40 squats every day. The second is your butterfly position. You can sit in this to watch TV, talk on the phone, just basically help to stretch your pelvis. The third is your leg raises, which you do lying on a non-slip mat and raise your legs as far as possible to 90 degrees. The fourth is your Kegels, and these are your pelvic floor exercises. Do not do them while urinating, but imagine that you're trying to stop the flow of urine when you're sitting on your bed. And last but not the least is deep breathing exercises. If you don't have time to exercise and you are busy and you're a working mom, find 10 minutes every day to do these 5 simple exercises from week 28 onwards, which will help to prepare your body for a normal delivery. There are a lot of myths which are associated with labor. And I mean, it's something which we've all heard about, and especially for first time mothers, it's something which is a big deal. I personally also was very scared the first time of the whole birth process because the only thing I'd heard was horror stories. Labor is long. Yes, it is. But many times we don't even know that labor is has started because for most women, labor would start in the middle of the night. So you probably will be sleeping and then labor kind of gets done almost halfway and we're good, right? Labor is painful. That's also something which a lot of people talk about. Yes, in the final stages, when you're almost close to the delivery, labor can be painful. But in the early parts of labor, contractions are going to come far apart. They're going to be really short. So it's not going to be horrendous. The 8th month is dangerous for the baby to be born. I mean, that's a myth. There are so many times mothers are asked to not exercise, rest, take it easy, not even go for a walk in the 8th month because everybody in the house thinks the baby is just going to pop in the 8th month and an 8th month baby does not survive, which is not true. Anytime in the 9th month is okay for the baby to be born. Again, not true. Full term is considered to be 37 weeks and beyond. And before that, the 9th month starts at week 35. So it's a good idea for the baby to complete full term. A very important secret is that labor progresses best when it starts naturally on its own. So never force or jumpstart labor. Stress is a big deal for a lot of mothers. It can come because of a variety of things, right? It could be due to pregnancy worries. You may be having some complications. You may be having your own personal thoughts, your own concerns. You may be worried about labor and delivery. It's going to be long, painful. You may end up having a cesarean. So, all of those worries that you may have, there might be family concerns where you're being kind of bombarded with a lot of information and a lot of advice, which is well meant, but it's not something that you're really interested in focusing on. There may be work pressures. Many of us are working women, and work changes dramatically when you announce that you're pregnant. And when you go on a leave, that can add on some additional pressures like what happens to my appraisals, what happens to my promotions, what happens to my role, will I get my same job back, and etc. Or actually, will I be even able to go back to work? So, all of these are going to impact how your mind thinks. And it's really, really important that you de stress. So, in that 10-minute exercise routine that I've asked you to form, you should add in a few minutes of relaxation, meditation, some self love at that point of time, whatever works for you, whether it's listening to music, talking to a friend, watching some TV, reading a book, just closing your eyes and relaxing. Whatever works is what you have to keep trying. And then comes your medical team. This one's really important. Most of you, if you're pregnant already, I mean, right now, you already have a doctor and you're pretty much set with them. But one of the things that I would recommend is always have open and frank conversations. I've had many times moms, whether it's during pregnancy or even with their babies, come back and send me their prescription checks and ask me what it means, or what is this medicine for, or why do I need to take this? Can I not do this? And they don't ask these questions in their doctor's offices. So it's very important that when you are at your doctor, you express what you're feeling, You express your thoughts, you express your wishes and desires, and you ask a lot of questions, right? It's very, very essential that you ask a lot of questions, because only when you ask questions will you get answers. And when you have answers, you will be clear in your mind. Otherwise, we go back to that same stress, isn't it? Because you're constantly thinking that, oh my God, why did the doctor say this? Or what did that mean? Or why am I taking this medicine? And etc., etc., etc. Think, are there risks? Are there alternatives? So, if any procedure, process, medication has been suggested, always understand what the risks are. Always understand if there are alternatives. I'll give you a simple example: induction. It's a procedure which is suggested. You reach 40 weeks, and the doctor says, we can't wait any longer, so we're going to induce. Okay, that's fine. But are there any risks? Do I have any options? So, what are my options? Can I try some natural inductions? Can I wait? Is it going to be a problem if I wait? What are the risks if I wait? Ask all these questions. It's really important. It's going to get you a lot of answers. And that is something only a doctor will be able to answer. Otherwise, you'll just go in for an induction. And remember, I said if labor starts on its own, then it is something which progresses really well. So it is quite possible that maybe your baby is not ready just yet. Maybe your baby wishes a little extra time in the womb and then wishes to come. So that's something that, is important for you to keep in mind and remember. Remember that birth is a new beginning and you should welcome it with positivity. So these were a few short and quick tips on how to prepare yourself during pregnancy as far as labor and birth is concerned, preparing your body. It's not just about only the walking or the exercise, but it's an overall preparation that is required, right? So we are open to questions. You can post your questions in the chat window. And typically, we would be happy to answer whatever questions that are coming in through this forum. So you can post them in the chat window, please. We have another 10 minutes. We've scheduled this for about 30 minutes. So we're happy to answer questions in this period. If there's anything related to pregnancy and birth, would be happy to answer them. Garima, yes, you can put your question in the chat window. How to lower high pulse rate because of anxiety? Okay. So first and foremost, it's a good idea to understand why you have anxiety. If your anxiety if your anxiety is related to it would be great if you keep your microphones on mute and put the questions in the chat, because that's going to help everybody to hear the answers correctly. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so I can have a bigger chat window. Yes, perfect. Okay, so understand why you have anxiety. If it is just pregnancy worries, concerns, minor, etc., then the best way is that practice a little bit of exercise, do a little yoga, add in a little meditation and relaxation. Try to divert your mind, try to find things for yourself to do so that you can get distracted. You live for yourself, find some me time. That is what is going to help to lower your pulse rate. When you are getting your checkup done, it's a good idea to sit down, take a few deep breaths, and then get your check done. So you would pretty much get a better reading as compared to kind of rushing into your doctor's office and getting your check done. Okay. Okay, any things to keep in mind while planning? If you are still planning a conception, yes, the first thing that you should do is make sure you take a folic acid supplement and a multivitamin. Get all your blood tests done so that you know that you are in normal ranges. Otherwise, you can bring it into normal range. Make sure that your weight is in the right place. A little bit up and down is okay, but overall it should not be obese or underweight. Also, you should not be smoking. Your partner also should avoid smoking, drinking, and to improve the motility of the sperm, take a zinc supplement. Okay. The next question I have is, I'm 5 months pregnant, but the only exercise I'm doing is walking. Yes, it is enough if you do not have supervision. It's the safest exercise. So I wouldn't recommend doing something additional with zest if you don't know what you're doing. Then it is better to just stick to walking. But if you can get some supervision and learn some exercises, that would also be recommended because it will just give you a different routine, a different set of muscles would work when you do that. Right? How to keep a control on breathing. During pregnancy, it's really normal to feel breathless. So, you can't talk a dime a dozen. You can't talk the way I'm talking without going, that kind of a feeling is always there. When you walk a little fast, you feel breathless. So that's a very pregnancy thing. And the reason this happens is because the oxygen requirement of the body increases. The lungs have to work over time and they are really, really pumping hard. So this is a very normal situation as far as pregnancy is concerned. If you have a slip disc, no, you can still go for an epidural and a normal delivery without damaging your back further. However, it would also depend on which level the slip disc is. So that's something which your gynecologist should be able to answer the question. As far as this recording is concerned, it will go up on YouTube. So for those of you who are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it is the Pregnancy Coach by Baby 360 Degrees. Please subscribe to it. Once the recording is ready, we will upload it there, but we'll be able to leave it there only for 48 hours because we don't want to clutter up the channel unnecessarily. So it's going to be a very short time that the recording will be available. So make sure that you watch it over the next 2 days. Right? How many steps should a pregnant lady walk in a day? Well, if you ask me, I would say 10,000, but no, I don't want you to do that. The answer to that is really simple. It depends on you, right? There are days that your body says that I have enough energy and I can walk for an hour. But there are days that your body is tired and you don't even want to do 20 minutes. So if that's rare, that's perfectly okay. You should take it easy. You should relax and don't worry about it. Okay. When you walk, wear shoes. Make sure you stay well hydrated and you walk at a pace which is enough to not get you breathless, but also enough to ensure that you can't talk. So if you can walk at that pace, that's considered to be absolutely okay. So yes, the pulse rate of 115 and 120 is slightly on the higher side. If this can result in, the blood pressure getting elevated, can result in, difficulty in terms of, it can also signify that maybe you have conditions brewing. So we should try to get it to settle down. And if it's anxiety related, I'm sure some yoga, deep breathing exercises will help. Sharp abdominal pain while urinating. If it's rare, then it's probable that you are going to the bathroom after holding urine for a while. Because during pregnancy, your bladder wants to release immediately. It doesn't want to wait. It has no stamina to wait. And therefore, that, when you do wait for a while and you try to empty your bladder, the bladder might have a sharp cramp. So if it's rare, then that's okay. Just don't hold urine. Otherwise, that can also result in ending up with, a urinary infection. Okay. Due to high blood sugar levels, I went on a strict high protein diet and not put on any weight due to continuous monitoring, which is okay. During pregnancy, as long as the baby is growing well. So if your ultrasound reports are normal and the baby's growth is showing normal, then lack of maternal weight gain is not considered to be a challenge or a problem at all. Okay, so once your growth scan is done, you should know if everything is okay. So maternal weight gain. And I'll share a personal example, not my example, but one of the clients in my class. She put on just about 3 kilos in her entire pregnancy, and the baby was born at 2.5 kilos. And the thing is, she wasn't even obese. She was really, really nice and slim. So when she came back, we met her about 3 months post delivery because we had a ground session at the center where we had a pediatrician for a talk, and she was fine. She was absolutely cool. She was back to her skinny jeans. So go figure, it's all okay. Right. So baby movements can be felt anywhere between 18 to 24 weeks. For first time mothers, initial movements can feel like flutters and they're very sporadic. So if you're in your fifth month, you're about week 20 and there's still time. You can feel movements anytime now in the next couple of weeks. Sleeping on either side is okay. And whether you sleep on the left or the right or on your back, as long as you're comfortable, there are no issues. However, when you sleep on your left, the blood flow to the uterus is the optimal, and also the digestion is optimal. So it's the best to sleep on the left side, but it's not a disaster if you sleep on your right or if you sleep on your back, as long as you are comfortable. All right, so I think I have time for one more question, and then we are going to wrap this up. Is there anything else? All right, that's awesome. Sharp pains on your heels. So you know what happens during pregnancy when you are when your weight increases, your legs tend to carry more weight, and all that weight has to be carried by your feet. So what happens is that the feet kind of tend to spread out a little bit, and because of that, they kind of also grow in size. So the bones are getting all that extra pressure, and that causes the pain. So you might want to choose, those really soft-soled shoes. And walking shoes would be great. I mean, I know they don't look the best, but don't use flip-flops anymore. Try and use those nice cushion slippers, cushion shoes. That will help you. Otherwise, you can also do some exercises or get a gentle massage for your heels. That will help. Um, Sudden pains, yeah, some aches and pains are normal, but if they have a pattern, if they're coming with regular rhythms, then that is something that you should get investigated by the doctor, because we don't know what could be causing it. Yeah. All right, great. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. And again, the whole idea is